This week on LTC News, new faces at City Hall.
As you see the results start to roll in and you'll see a strong showing, it does feel like a little bit of a surprise.
The Latinx community comes together.
The Latino community is a little bit divided, so we want to bring all the Latino community together, and that's one of the main reasons of the event. So we all get to know each other, and we can bring the community together, so if we work together, we can accomplish more.
And UTEC celebrates 20 years.
We had our 20th anniversary gala, which really celebrated UTEC, our young people, our staff, our community partners, folks who were with us from the very beginning, folks who are with us today, and all the successes that we've all achieved over the years.
You say UTEC, UTEC, UTEC.
All this and much more on this edition of LTC News. Welcome to LTC News. I'm your host, Krista Brown. The votes have been tallied and the results are in. There will be 3 new city councilors joining the 6 incumbents that ran for re-election. Starting with Inauguration Day on January 6th, the City Council will be made up of Rita Mercier, John Drinkwater, Vesna Noon, Rodney Elliott, Sakari Chow, John Leahy, David Conway, Daniel Rourke, and Bill Samaras.
Well, initially, the results do feel like a bit of a surprise because when you're running, you always feel like you're in the 10th spot, trying to move up and get into 9th. And, you know, I never try to let my mind get to the point where I start to feel comfortable, you know, even being in the top 9. So as you see the results start to roll in, and you'll see a strong showing, it does feel like a little bit of a surprise initially, but with a little perspective, you can see you know, that a lot of hard work went into the campaign. It's just really great to see it pay off.
You know, I think everybody who ran expected to win and expected to be elected. So I think I'm a little bit surprised, but as we campaigned through the year, we were confident and that we would also win. But I was surprised to see how well we did, especially throughout the different neighborhoods in the city. So myself and my team are very proud of that.
Very interesting results. Ranked choice or proportional voting, Arthur. 4,377 no and 4,220 yes. As to the district at large, hybrid option, 5,121 votes for yes, 3,482 votes for no. Clearly a strong finish there. And on the Community Preservation Act, its reported demise is untrue because it passed by 49-18 to 3,631. So on the CPA, a pretty strong vote of confidence. The manager, of course, trumpeted that.
It's just a real honor, and as the results came in, you know, a real wave of gratitude really came over me just to know that people took the time to go out to the polls and checked off my name, and it really is a bit of a humbling feeling knowing that residents of the city put that level of trust in me.
I'm really humble and really honored, and as someone mentioned to me a few days ago as well, I think we're making history. This is the first time when you have two councilors of the same minority ethnic background. I am Cambodian American and serve in the same city, serve in the same term in the history of America. That being said, when I really ran to represent every resident in the city of Lowell.
In a bit of a shocker, 2 incumbents on the school committee were ousted in favor of new faces. Michael Dillon Jr. brought in the most votes with 4,296 votes.
I think that this is a really unique time I've learned a lot about the history of Lowell and the forward thinking that has gone into some of the things that we're seeing happening today. And I think right now we have a real opportunity to really just embrace this moment and just shoot off. I think the sky is the limit for Lowell right now with the superintendent, with the right school committee mix, the city council. We need to work collaboratively. We need to make sure we're using our relationships and partnerships with nonprofits and businesses in the city to do good things for our students, and I think the time is now.
Stay tuned for our live coverage of inauguration ceremonies from City Hall on January 6th. The diverse Latinx community came together on November 8th for the first event put on by a new nonprofit in Lowell, the Latinx Community Center for Empowerment. Executive Director Luz Vasudevan explained the purpose of the Meet Your Neighbors Fair.
It is our first event, so we are really, really happy. The community is responding. We are very excited, and we are seeing a lot of people coming, even though it's a very, very cold day. The Latino community is a little bit divided, so we want to bring all the Latino community together, and that's one of the main reasons of the event. So we all get to know each other, and we can bring the community together, so if we work together, we can accomplish more.
We are Panela Restaurant. We're located on 7 Hanover Street in Lowell, Massachusetts. Here we bring in some empanadas, some chorizo with potato. We are a modern Colombian restaurant, and we bring different flavors to the table.
I have here several pieces of our nuts that are called tawa. Tawa is a beautiful piece that is also called vegetable ivory, and we have 36 different colors.
We are the Latinx community of Lowell, and we want to create and integrate ourselves into the community as a whole. By means of education, we can create socio-economical growth. And it's not education in a sense of books, certifications, getting a degree. It's education about things that you do. Where do you get your things? Where do you go if you have problems? Who do you talk to? Where do you file your taxes? Simple stuff that we can educate ourselves, because we come from different backgrounds. So there's things that we do back home that are really different over here. So
we think it's important to be here to represent Middlesex Community College because it's our opportunity to show our doors are open. Anybody can step through our doors and be great, make an impact, change their lives in whatever way that they want to. And they have people who care, like us and myself. We have lots of different majors and different certificates to put you in the place where you want to or where you even didn't think that you could have gone.
We're part of E4O. We want to make sure that people know about E para Todos, our programs for the Hispanic entrepreneurs, and just supporting the community.
We are offering English classes on Saturday mornings from 9 to 12. And it's interesting because we started the class with 17 people, and now we have 47. So we are growing, and the community really needs the classes. The community also wants to learn Spanish. So we hold Spanish classes in the afternoons on Saturdays from 1 to 4. And now we are going to start financial education. We want to do citizenship education. We have a lot of projects, but we are doing one by one so we can be successful.
For information on LCCE classes and services, contact Luz at 978-821-8415. Veterans and their families gathered at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium on Monday, November 11th in recognition of Veterans Day. Breakfast was served, and several veterans spoke to the crowd about the importance of staying physically and mentally fit after their service.
Today, we honor the veterans for their service and our freedom. We must also remember the sacrifices made by the families and the emotional and psychological toll that they have endured. As veterans, we understand the cost of freedom up to and including our lives, but many do not understand what that means.
I was married 2 months after I had gotten home, proposed to her less than a month after I got home. Prior to my deployment, she and I could talk about anything and everything, quite literally. When I returned, she complained a lot about us not talking like the way that we used to. The first time we both realized something was wrong with me personally was at the very first 4th of July fireworks show that I attended. That first boom, I jumped out of my seat about 5 feet in the air and fell over backwards. My wife and my 2 stepkids at the time, they were laughing because they thought it was funny. I stood up and I was extremely angry. I never hit my wife or kids. That's never been me. I don't drink much at all because that's not me either. So why would I get so mad so fast? Simple answer is PTSD. You see, PTSD isn't just a state of mind or a reaction. PTSD is many things and different things to different people. Anxiety, depression, extreme mood changes are just a few of the whole bunch of aspects of PTSD.
When we went into the service, we took an oath of enlistment. Every creed slightly different, living up to our service and to our values that we were committed to and that we remain committed to today. Well, what happens to these 5 different groups of military service members when they come home? You know, they're still Marines, they're still Army servicemen, sailors, and soldiers. But now they come together back as one group. We are all veterans. So I give to you the Veterans Creed. I am a veteran. I proudly served my country. I live the values I learned in the military. I continue to serve my community, my country, and my fellow veterans. I maintain my physical and mental fitness. I continue to lead and improve. I make a difference. I know and honor and remember my fellow comrades. I am an American veteran. Thank you.
Ready, aim, fire. Ready, aim, fire. Ready, aim, fire. Half left, freeze and arm.
UTEC celebrated its 20th anniversary with a gala on November 6th. For 20 years, UTEC has been dedicated to helping young people overcome the challenges of poverty, gang involvement, and unemployment. The organization has been widely recognized for its innovative work with at-risk youth within the community.
Welcome to UTEC's 20th anniversary gala!
So last week, UTEC threw the party of the decade. We had our 20th anniversary gala, which really celebrated UTEC, our young people, our staff, our community partners, folks who were with us from the very beginning, folks who are with us today, and all the successes that we've all achieved over the years.
You say UTEC, 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 UTEC.
So we started planning the gala really about 6 months ago. We knew we had some key partners on the local, state, and national level that we wanted to recognize for their support. And so our team's been working on this for a while. Young people have been involved from the very beginning planning this event. As you can see, the young people were stars of the show. We were able to honor some young adults who've made outstanding achievements, in addition to the show being emceed by some of our young adults right now. So it was a great event. Everything we planned really came to life in many ways. We were very fortunate to recognize those local partners, especially who were there in 1999, but also some amazing partners on the state and national stage, including former Congresswoman Gabby Gifford, who really has been a voice across the country to reduce gun violence.
These are scary times. Racism, sexism, lies, violence. It's time to stand up for what's right. It's time for courage. We must do something. We must stop gun violence.
The message I really want to make sure folks know is that I think UTEC gets a lot of credit for what we've been doing in the recent years, but UTEC is a product of our partnerships from day one. One of the best moments of the gala was when we had the Club 99, where we invited up all of the adult allies, former city councilors, school committee members, local leaders, who were really critical in helping us from day one. and who's been a great partner supporting UTEC and lifting up UTEC on the national stage as well. There are a few moments during the gala that I'll always remember. I think one was when one of our young adults that we honored, Jose Pizzini, was really telling his story about coming home from jail and the difference between the first time he came home and the second time he came home, when the second time he was a father. And he brought his daughter up on stage to really emphasize his pride as a father. And I'm a dad as well, and so that was a moment for me that really hit me. So really it was a great event aimed at celebrating all the success. It was also a fundraiser, and we were very appreciative of all the support we got that night. We were able to exceed our goal for fundraising that night. So it was a really great event all around, and really will help set UTEC on a great kind of first step towards the next 20 years.
In this week's Sunspot, Lowell Sun Enterprise editor Chris Scott sits down with new school committee member Mike Dillon Jr.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Scott, the Enterprise editor at The Sun, with another edition of Sunspot, our bi-weekly contribution to LTC News. With me is Mike Dillon. Mike Dillon is a city firefighter, but Mike Dillon made some news earlier this month when the political neophyte, and I mean that respectfully, topped the ticket for Lowell School Committee. Thanks for coming in, Mike.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So I remember when I heard you on with my friend at WCAP, Teddy Panos, probably going back in August.
It's a while back now.
And you had declared your candidacy for school committee. Then I saw some of your yellow signs.
Yep.
And I didn't know much about you. And I've worked in the city for a long time, but I've since learned a lot more about you. What should the people of Lowell know about you most, and what do you attribute your pretty startling win to on election night?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been thinking about how to. I've been trying to process the whole thing because it was crazy. I had confidence going in because I knew that I had a lot of support. I felt it, but it's something I've never been involved in. So that day, I mean, I didn't know if I was going to get 2,500 votes or 5,500, and it was amazing. It was I was with a bunch of friends and family up at Mount Pleasant, and it was crazy. It was crazy, and I think people appreciated my message of getting things done with hard work. I'm going to be kind of a no nonsense.
You seem like a no nonsense kind of guy.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot from me that isn't important. And I say what I mean. So I think people saw that, and I'm going to try to be real with people and be honest and do what's right. So.
Why did you decide to run for school committee? What was happening? You went to Lowell High, I assume, right?
Yeah, class of 2002.
Class of 2002.
Yep.
And I know many of your family members probably went to Lowell High School too, right?
Yeah.
Through the Lowell Public Schools.
Yeah. Yep.
So what did you see happening in the Lowell Public Schools over the last several years? And there's been lots of headlines.
Sure.
A lot of bad headlines, a lot of good headlines too.
Yeah.
But what did you see that made you decide to run for school committee?
It's
whether it was good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, back to the high school, the whole situation a couple of years ago. I was very involved, and I was on the side of moving the school to Cawley.
You wanted to go to Cawley, okay?
Certainly, yeah. And the way I saw it, any other option was going to leave a generation of our kids not satisfied, and certainly the parents not satisfied with the setup that they're going to have for an education in Lowell.
Excuse me, do you mean kids at the school during construction? Is that?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and the route that we're on right now is going to mean a whole generation of kids that are going to be affected by that. And when I say it's a good 8 to 10 years of students that are going to be affected. And my issue with that whole thing right from the start, when I spoke at a city council meeting a year and a half ago, was I don't want to lose families from the city. And that's something that doesn't have dollar signs next to it. And people didn't, I don't know that they wanted to hear it, because money's important. Right? But I want good people to live here, and I want good people to stay here, not in spite of the education. And so I wanted to inspire young parents to stay, because I took up my roots here. I'm staying. And the way that I look at it is I'm going to raise my kids to make Lowell Public Schools a better place. And I hope people can jump on board with that.
Well, as I'm sure you're aware, after that acrimonious debate that lasted many, many months and years,
Sure.
They decided to keep the high school downtown.
Yeah.
The state has approved that project.
Yep.
And it's getting to the point where I believe it's at that point of no return.
Oh, of course.
And what?
Yeah, a lot of people brought that up during
and
the
you
election.
acknowledge that. You acknowledge that.
I'm not coming in to delay anything.
Right.
I mean, when I talk about parents and the option, deciding between the options, the Colley option being done immediately and not having to affect a large amount of kids is what I was talking about. So it's the length of the project that was just I couldn't grasp.
So what do you think you can do as a new member of the school committee, joining a whole bunch of incumbents that have been there for a long time?
Sure.
Let's face it, you beat Connie Martin, who's been there the longest, I think. You beat Jackie Doherty, beat several of the others. What can you do as a member of that committee to ensure now that the construction and the transition from what we have now to the campus type atmosphere that city leaders envision actually happens with the least disruption to the families that you're talking about?
Well, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to people that know better than I do. I'm not a professional in construction, but I'm going to be present. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. And when problems arise, I'm going to talk to the people that need to be spoken to, the people that know, and make sure that it happens. I'm going to take a very hands-on approach with everything that I do. You're going to see me, and just keeping a close eye and being on top of it.
Right. Okay.
And it's going to take a lot working with Suffolk and
the general contractor on the project.
Yeah, the contractor. It's coming in on the project, and it's going to take communication.
Now, as a Lowell firefighter, I assume you're a member of the Lowell Firefighters Union.
I am.
I'm just wondering, so you're a union guy,
Sure.
To some extent anyway. What do you think of the whole project labor agreement that was rejected by the previous city council?
Yeah.
There's talk that there might be efforts to resuscitate that.
Sure.
Where would you, even though you're on the school committee,
Yep.
would you like to see that happen, or do you think that the council, that 7-1 vote, that should stand and move on?
Well, I'm always going to be a proponent of union labor. I come from a long line. My whole family are teachers and firefighters.
Yep.
I mean, we're all union workers. I think, again, I'm not a professional in this whole process, but I think it should have happened a year and a half ago, this conversation, a long time ago. And I don't know. I think it's pretty late in the game for us to start trying to apply that now. So I think
so you wouldn't support
it may be too late. Yeah,
it's too late. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's a conversation we need to have a long time ago. The numbers are in,
and they're in and they've been approved.
Yeah. So I don't know that change is possible.
Right.
As much as I'd like it to be. Again, delaying this project is if it gets done any later than the summer of 2026, then we failed.
Right.
Now,
during the campaign, I'd like to move on to another topic.
Sure.
And the Sunday column addressed this. One of my colleagues,
I
Elizabeth Dobbins, who covers City Hall and covers the school committee, wrote about this, that you topped the ticket, and you were one of the few, I think the only school committee candidate that didn't get drawn into the Salah Kalfawi argument. Are you pro Kalfawi? Did the former school committee err in getting rid of him on that 4-3 vote? Tell us, was that a conscious decision on your part, or was it a case, you weren't on the committee, you weren't privy to all those executive sessions, you weren't privy to the minutes?
I think maybe I didn't get it out there the way I wanted to in the debates.
You were soft-spoken in the debates.
You get a very short time to talk, and this is where I want to be. I want to be talking face-to-face to people, and I want people to hear me speak like this. So as far as the Kalfawi thing, it's really difficult. It turned into a, did you support the firing or not? And to that question, I don't have enough information. I can't sit next to a school committee member who has been there and has been in all these meetings and argue with them whether or not the person should have been fired, because I don't have all the information. What I do know is that if he did deserve to be fired, we didn't need to end up in a lawsuit that we're in right now.
There are members of the school committee that believe they did it the right way. The city solicitor believes it was done the right way. And he filed a suit, which is his right. know, he can certainly do that. And now the courts will hammer it out, or there'll be an out-of-court settlement, and then it will go away.
No, and I can't confidently say whether the guy. I don't know all the information. I wasn't there, and
and that's why you handled it the way you did.
The reports and find out now, but.
His his replacement, Joel Boyd,
yes,
has been in the pages of The Sun. He's been in this chair. He's been on the radio station talking about some challenges that the school department has. There are underperforming schools. There are middle school students that can't read to level, as evidenced in the most recent MCAS results. What do you see as the biggest challenge for the new school committee in terms of, you know, those academic issues? You know, we're talking some of this other stuff that really, you know, isn't student driven.
Yeah,
What do you see as the biggest student driven issue? Underperforming schools, the MCAS test?
Probably the biggest problem overall, and isn't directly involved with the kids maybe, but is supporting our staff, giving our teachers and administrators the support that they need to make the decisions they need in their school buildings. I don't think we do a good job of supporting our employees.
Can you give me an example of that? I think you mentioned that during the debate.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, and you know, and there are a lot of situations that are in the paper that people read about, but what I talk about when I mean that is, you know, the young teachers that I've come in contact with. I know plenty of young teachers that had zero support coming in, got hired, and they were lucky to get hired, and didn't ever feel like they were needed or wanted there, and they're either not teaching anymore or they're begrudgingly still, you know. And
so
morale is low.
You're referring to anecdotal stories that you've heard. And,
yeah. Okay. I've been around the school a lot, the high school in particular. And like I said, a lot of my family members are teachers in the system, and so I'm very familiar with what goes on. And I think providing the support to the superintendent and making sure that he is supporting our administrators.
You know, the school committee over the last 10 years has a track record of churning through superintendents. Basically every 3.5, 4 years, they're gone. There's been no longevity among superintendents in Lowell. You'd have to go back to Carla Brooks Bear, who was there 7 years, and you know, that's going back a ways.
Yeah.
Don't you think that some of that support and the morale issues that you're concerned about would improve if there was someone at the head who was there for a lengthy period of time and wasn't always looking over his or her shoulder?
Of course. And when you're talking about such a big job as a superintendent, you can't see the results. I've said this before, that you can't see the results of what a superintendent is. You know, those big decisions, they take time. And you know, he hasn't changed anything yet. I mean, he's made a lot of changes, but his effects they're long-term effects. And so you're absolutely right. I guess I compare it to like being a coach. You know, you get a new coach, coaching any type of team every single year, and you're never going to develop that consistency. So that's what we need in a superintendent. Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have that moving forward.
Here for a long time. So.
All right, Mike, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. It went fast. You're welcome.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Mike Dillon, the newest member of the Lowell School Committee, he topped the ticket in this November's elections, and he'll be seated the first or second Monday in January, right?
Yes.
January 2nd, a big City Hall ceremony. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming in.
Great.
And thank you for tuning into this latest edition of Sunspot. We'll be back in 2 more weeks with another guest. Have a good night, everyone.
And that's all for this edition of LTC News. You can find us on LTC channels 8, 95, and 99, online at ltc.org, on Roku in the LTC News playlist, on Facebook at LTC Lowell, or on our YouTube page. We leave you now with an excerpt from the Lowell Philharmonic Orchestra Symphonic Adventures. I'm your host, Krista Brown. Thanks for joining us.